Hi, Abhinav. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Very good, very good. So, Abhinav, tell me something about yourself before we begin the class.
I like football and basketball a lot.
Great. And you are in which grade and what are you doing
I'm
in
in
that?
eighth grade
Mhm.
and at Community Health Middle School, and I'm in math too, and I'm doing quadratic functions.
Great. So, even in grade 8, you can understand quadratic functions, right?
Yeah.
That's good. So, at present, what are you doing and from where should we start today's lesson?
Uh, can I share my screen?
Sure, you can.
So I'd like to work more on these kind of worksheets.
Okay. Okay. So, that is, you have to graph the quadratic function from the given equation. You have to write all the characteristics, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll get into details of this today. So
Okay.
let's begin with the very first question. Can you share the very first question? I'll give you some concepts. Perfect. So the equation given to you is y equals to 2x squared minus 3x minus 2. We need to find the
Yeah.
vertex, axis of symmetry, whether it opens up or down, maximum, minimum, x-intercept, y-intercept, domain, range, increasing, decreasing, and behavior, and then we have to graph it. We are also given a table to write down some key values, correct?
Yeah.
Now, what do you think should be the approach in doing such a question?
I think I have to find the vertex first by using
Correct.
negative b over 2a.
Correct. That's perfect. So let's find the vertex. You know the completing the squares method.
Yeah.
So help me out. We'll find the vertex first and then answer the question. Equation is 2x squared minus 3x minus 2. To find the vertex,
Yeah.
what are we going to do? We are going to take
We
2 common, right?
Yeah.
And we get what? We get x squared minus 3 over 2x. And let us keep this minus 2 away. Now, the idea here is that to complete the squares, we have to add and subtract what?
b over 2 squared.
3 over 2, the half of that, right? So we'll add 3 over 4. That is half of this, right? And
Yeah.
also subtract half of this, which is 3 over 4 whole square, right? Let me write
Yeah.
this number. This is the coefficient of x, correct? And minus 2. Now that makes it a perfect square. And we can now write this as x minus, the minus sign comes from the minus 3 over 2x, and then 3 by 4 whole square, right? And minus. The square of 3 over 4 is 9 over 16 minus
Yeah.
2. And now we can open the bracket. We get 2 times x minus 3 over 4 whole square minus multiplying by 2, we get what? 9 over 8, right?
Yeah.
16 and 2, they simplify and we get minus 2. Now we can combine the last two terms and we get 2 times x minus 3 by 4 whole square minus 8 is common, right? So 8 is common and we get what? 9 minus 16, right? Plus 16. I
Yeah.
took the minus outside. 8 times 2 is 16. And so I could now write this as 8 times 2 times x minus 3 by 4 whole square minus 9 plus 16 is 25, 25 over 8. Correct?
Yeah.
So that becomes the equation in the vertex form.
Yeah.
We did complete the squares, right? Now from here, we can get all the values. Let's write down our values first. So what is the vertex from the equation?
3/4 and negative 25 over 8.
What is the axis of symmetry?
X fourths.
It opens up or down.
Up.
Will it have maximum or minimum value?
Minimum.
Value, and that will be minus, okay, minus 25 by 8, right?
Yeah.
What is the x-intercept for this particular function? How will you find the x-intercept?
You
So
have
do you
to
know?
add
Yeah, tell me.
you have to add 25/8 to both sides and then you solve it.
Correct. So from the symmetry, you got axis of, you got this value, right? So, okay. So we can say to find the x-intercept, let me write it on the right-hand side now. We know y equals to 0, correct?
Yeah.
So we'll write y equals to 0, and then we'll continue with the vertex form of the equation, which is 2 times x minus 3 by 4 whole square minus
Yeah.
25 over 8. So let's bring it to the left-hand side. We get 25 over 8. And let me, the battery, let me put the power off. Okay. So we get 25 over 8 on the right-hand side equals to 2 times x minus 3 by 4 whole square. Dividing by 2, we get 25 over 8 times 1 over 2 equals to x minus 3 by 4 whole square, which now will square root. So when you square root it, we have to write plus and minus, right?
Yeah.
And this is 25 over 16. And that gives you x minus 3 by 4. Your very first question is pretty tough, right? Involves a lot of fractions. But fortunately for us, square root of 25 over 16 is 5 over 4, right? So we get this 5 over 4 with plus and minus, and that is x minus 3 over 4. And from here, we can find the value of x, which will be 3 over 4 plus and minus 5 over 4. And that is the x value for the x-intercepts. Of course, y value 0. So we get two x-intercepts in this case. Can you tell me their values? What are the x-intercepts?
2 and negative 1/2.
So 8 over 4 gives you 2. That is perfect. And 3 minus this will give you minus 2 over 4, which is negative half. Very good job. So let me write down these two x-intercepts here now. So we have x-intercepts at 2 and at negative half. Very good. How about the y-intercept?
Negative 2.
And that you get directly from the equation itself. When x is 0, you get y-intercept as negative 2. Now, what is the domain of this function?
Negative infinity and infinity.
Yeah. So we say x belongs to real numbers, right? So there is no restriction, right? So you could write like this, right? Or you could also write as you said, from negative infinity to positive infinity, right? In these brackets, which mean that infinity cannot be included, correct?
Yeah.
How about the range?
Negative 25/8 and infinity.
So we say x belongs to real numbers such that x is, since it opens upwards, is greater than equal to the lowest point, which is minus 25 over 8, right?
Yeah.
So that is how you can write in the set form. This is called the set form. And as you said, you could also write this as from negative 25 over 8 to infinitely large value. Negative 25 over 8 will be included and not the infinity. So square brackets on the left-hand side. Is that okay?
Yeah. Wait, is it X or is it Y? Because for
Okay.
range, you
Range,
have X.
why? You're right. Sorry for that. Let me recorrect. Let me correct with the different ink. Y. Yes. Good job. Y belongs to real numbers where y is greater than equal to minus 25 over 8. Perfect. Good job. Increasing and decreasing interval. So the parabola, as you can see, is kind of like this, right? So what do you think is the increasing interval and which one is the decreasing interval?
I think increasing is negative 25/8 and infinity.
Correct. And decreasing from minus
Uh,
infinity to minus 25 over 8. Correct?
yeah.
How about the end behavior?
As x goes towards negative infinity, y goes towards infinity. And as x goes towards infinity, y goes towards infinity.
Perfect. So both sides up in this particular case, whether x is going to negative infinity or positive infinity, correct? So we are in good position to sketch this particular graph, right? So we can
Yeah.
always write down some x values and y values here, which will help us to plot the graph. The two very important values are the x-intercepts, which you found as at minus at half and 2, right? So at x equals to minus half, we have y value of 0. And at x equals to 2, we have y value of 0. Also, the y-intercept, which is at x equals to 0, we have y equals to minus 2, right?
Yeah.
Plus the vertex, which we found that at 3 by 4, it is equal to minus 25 by 8, right? So let me write here now, 3 by 4, we have a value which is minus 25 over 8, correct? Now,
Yeah.
those are a few critical things which we have just figured out. Another important thing which you get from the equation is also steps. Do you know how the steps will go for the function from the vertex itself?
No.
Okay. Now, normally in a parabola, let me just explain you this concept of steps first. Now, steps is kind of very important to sketch quickly without the values itself. So we always begin from the vertex. We know the axis of symmetry, and we start with the vertex. If you start from the vertex and go towards right or left, one unit at a time. So for x squared, the steps normally are 1, 3, 5, 7, and so on. However, this should be multiplied by a, since a is the stretch factor. In this case, it is being multiplied by 2. So those are the steps from the vertex for each level. So we'll just look into this also. What I'm trying to say is from 0 to 1, if I write at 0, we know the value is minus 2. So at 1, it will be minus 2 plus 2, right? So we have this 0 at minus 2. At x equals to 0, we have minus 2. Let's go from the vertex. Okay, so let me plot the points which we already have. So let's begin plotting the vertex first. So what is the vertex? 3 by 4 minus 25 by 8, right?
Yeah.
And the other values which you see are, up to 2. So we have to use the scale properly. That is very important. We are looking for value like 3 by 4, right? So it is good to have 1 unit as 1/4, right? Along the x. So
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4. So that is 1 for us. You get the idea? 1, 2, 3, 4. That is 2 for us. So we should have a scale 1, 2, 3, 4. And similarly, minus 1 will be 1, 2, 3, 4. That is minus 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, minus 2. So do you see how I made the scale?
Yeah.
Now, this is kind of very critical because otherwise you cannot accurately graph the result, right? So that is 1 for us. This is 2. And here we have minus 1 and minus 2. Clear?
Yeah.
Okay. The y values which we look at is we have a minus 2 and we have minus 25 by 8. So 8 goes around 3 times, right? So that is around 3 times. So we are looking for the value which is 3, right? So now on the y scale, I'm going to use a scale since if I go by 4s, I will not be able to sketch it here. So I'll go by 2s. Is that okay?
Yeah.
So here I have minus 3. Do you see that? This is minus 2 for me, and this is minus 1. And on the plus side, I'm using 2 units as 1. So it is very important to use proper scale. So along the x and y axis, we have defined our scale. Now, We know at 3 by 4, we have minus 25 by 8. At 2, it is 0. So let's start putting the points. So from where do you want to start the points? X-intercepts?
Yeah.
Okay, x-intercepts are at 2 and minus half. So minus half is right there, right? And 2 is here. So I'm making them with green ink, as you can see, big and bold. Okay. Now, let's go to the axis of symmetry or the vertex. So axis of symmetry is 3 by 4. So we know this is 1 for us and 3/4 is right there.
Yeah.
So this is our axis, x equals to 3 by 4. And on the axis, we have the y value, which gives you the vertex, and that is at minus 25 by 8. So 25 by 8, what does it mean to you? So 8 goes 3 times, right? So it is 3
Yeah.
holes minus 3 holes, and then we are left with 1, right? 1
Yeah.
by 8. Is it okay? So let's go
Yes.
minus 3 and 1/8. So this is because we took 2 units. This is 1 over 5, that is 1 over 2. And 1/8 is very close to this. So I'm putting the point here. Is that okay? This point?
Yeah.
And then we have the y-intercept, which is at 2. Correct?
Yeah.
From the symmetry, we know this could be symmetrical. So we can put a point 2 here, same distance away. And now we have a couple of points to sketch the graph. Right?
Yeah.
And we know the end behavior, which means we have to go up in both the directions. That is the end behavior, right?
Yeah.
Connecting these points, we get our graph. Is that clear to you? So you're
Yeah.
supposed to make a smooth curve using these points. Is that clear?
Yeah.
Okay. So that gives you the graph of the parabola. Is that clear to you?
Yeah.
So what did you learn here? How will you sketch the graph of a parabola? Can you summarize the steps?
You plot the x-intercepts first, then you find the axis of symmetry and go down until, or go up or down till you find the vertex, and you plot the vertex. Then you plot the y-intercept and you plot the point that's symmetrical to it. And since you, based off the end behavior, you can make the graph go up or down.
You are right. Perfect. So what we really did is that we went through this list which was provided by your teacher. Do you see that?
Yeah.
It really helps you to sketch accurately and also reminds you what are the values which you should be putting on your graph. Is that okay?
Yeah.
And you can verify from the graph that the increasing and decreasing interval is exactly what you have mentioned there. So it is also a check on your values, right? So we use some of these values to plot and some of the values to check our result, mainly increasing and decreasing interval to check the result and all other points. We also included the axis of symmetry. You get the idea. So normally when we sketch the parabola, I've seen students do not mention the axis of symmetry, but it is an important parameter to be mentioned on the graph itself. Is that clear to you?
Yeah.
Okay. And using a proper scale helps us to accurately show all the points which are critical for the given situation. Correct?
Yeah.
Now, another key thing is there are 5 points which I show, right? So always show at least 5 key points. Correct?
Yeah.
And of course, we have included the end behavior. That becomes another very important part of characteristics, which has been shown by using these arrows at the end. So do not miss the arrows. Is that clear to you?
Yeah.
Everything here count marks. So if you miss anything, you will lose 0.5 for sure. Correct? This is the
Yeah.
complete sketch of the quadratic function given to you. And both sides, one side you can see the completing the squares method to find the vertex, and on the other side, very important calculations to find the x-intercepts from the vertex form, right? So this kind of beautifully revised the whole chapter which you have learned so far about the quadratic functions. I really like the question. Is it absolutely clear to you?
Yeah.
Perfect. So can I erase all this and then we'll move on to the next question?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So there you go. So can you move the screen up? Let's look into the second graph. Right. Now in this second graph, it is a simple graph, y equals to minus x squared plus 1. Tell me all the values and how will you sketch it quickly?
Okay.
Vertex.
Vertex is 0 and 1. 0, 1.
Axis of symmetry.
X equals 0.
Opens.
Down.
Maximum value.
Max.
1. X-intercept.
1 and minus 1.
Correct. So let's find the x-intercept here once again. You need to calculate, right? So you're given y equals to minus x squared plus 1. X-intercept means y equals to 0. So when I put 0 here, we get what? We get x squared equals to 1. That means x equals to plus minus square root of 1, which is plus minus 1, correct? So x-intercepts are at plus and minus 1, right? Let me use a dark blue. Plus and minus. Perfect. Y-intercept.
1.
Domain.
Negative infinity, infinity.
Correct. So you could also write negative infinity, infinity. Correct. Range.
1 and negative infinity.
Correct. Increasing interval and decreasing interval.
Increasing is negative infinity, 1.
So correct. And decreasing.
1 negative infinity.
And behavior.
As x goes towards negative infinity, y goes towards negative infinity, and as x goes towards infinity, y goes towards negative infinity.
Both down. Perfect. So in this particular graph, as I was saying, we could use the step function. I like you to show you the step function here, right? Last time it was fractions, very difficult to put the steps. So in this case, the steps are what? The steps, as I said, will be from the vertex, and they are 1, 3, 5, 7, and so on, multiplied by a value. A is equal to minus 1 here, coefficient of x squared, correct?
Yeah.
We'll multiply by minus 1. So the steps basically are what? So steps can be written as minus 1, minus 3, minus 5, and so on. So we'll locate the vertex first, and from there, we will actually draw the graph. Now here, the axis of symmetry is the y-axis itself, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, and now the vertex is at 1. So let me choose a scale here. We're using 2 units as 1 now. Since the graph otherwise very, we want, or we could have enlarged the screen to draw. Correct. So x squared equals to 1, and that gives you the, at 1, we have the vertex. Now the axial symmetry I've already drawn, opens downward, x-intercepts at plus minus 1. So I'm using 2 units here, okay? Let me first write down the scale, otherwise it'll create confusion. So 2 units is 1 for me. So we'll write here plus 1, minus 1, plus 1, minus 1, right? So 2 units is 1 for me. See now, see how the step works. So if I move 1 unit left, I go 1 down. If I move another unit left, I go 3 down. 1, 2, and 3. So I get the next value. Do you see that?
Yeah.
So if I go 1 down, now I have to go 3 down. So if I move further, so what I get here is from here 1, 2, and 3. So we get another point. Now, next time I have to go 5 down. You get the idea?
Yeah.
That is what it means by putting the steps. We don't really have to calculate the points. And now joining these points, I can sketch the graph for you. Sorry. So make a curve like this and then extend. So we have extended the curve, and there you go. We have our parabola, which is opening downwards. Is that clear to you?
Yeah.
Correct. So that is how we are going to sketch this particular graph. So we have a parabola, which is opening downwards. And I hope did you understand the concept of steps in this particular case? Right here, right?
Yeah.
Of course, you can write down the values here. Let me write down the values just to complete it. We can take some values of x and get the values of y. And as you know, vertex was given to you. So x is 0, y is 1. You know the x-intercepts, which were at plus and minus 1. So at minus 1, you get y value of 0. And at plus also, you get y value of 0. Do you see that?
Yeah.
Now, the center value given to you is the vertex, which is 0, 1. Now, how do we get all the points from here? I will show you that. That's what so first step here is 1 down. Do you see that? Minus 1, you get 0, correct?
Yeah.
Next step is minus 3. So if I do minus 3, I get at x equals to 2, y value of minus 3. You get the idea.
How do you know the x value is 2 though?
One step on the right or one step to the left. So even if I go left, which is minus 2, I'll get the value of minus 3 because of the symmetry. Do you see that?
Yeah.
Now at 3, my value will be what? Minus
Negative 5.
Negative 5 on this will give me negative 8. Do you see minus 1357 now?
Yeah.
That is your first difference. So this actually is the first difference. And we can use the first difference to get all the points. So without calculation, I can get all the points on the parabola just from the vertex and the A value. You get the idea?
Yeah.
That is how you have to draw. And because the symmetry on both the sides of the vertex, we get the same y values. You get the idea, right?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So let's move on. I'll clear the screen now. We'll take up the next question. Perfect. Now, can you tell me what is the equation given to you and how will you proceed to sketch the graph of this parabola?
Well, I'm doing minus b over 2a to find the vertex. So it's negative 2 and then negative 2, 0. I think that's the vertex.
So minus b by 2a, b is negative 4 over 2 times 1. And that gives you negative 2. That's a very good way. Without doing completing the squares, you are finding the vertex directly, which is minus b by 2a. So let me tell our students that normally the equation is y equals to ax squared plus bx plus c. The vertex is at minus b by 2a, and that is the x value. And the y value, you have to substitute this value to get the y value, right? So let me write down not vertex, but the axis. Okay, so plus c, so the axis of symmetry. So in that case, you do not have to use the formula, completing the squares. The formula helps, minus b by 2a, correct? So that is what Abhinav has used to quickly find the value, right? So now you'll find the y value, that is f of minus 2, right? Substitute minus 2 in the equation, and you get what? Minus 2 squared plus 4 times minus 2 plus 4, correct? What do you get?
I got 0.
You get 0, right?
Yeah.
Minus 2 when you plug it. So we get, yeah, this is minus 2, correct. So 4 and minus, that is correct. So you get 0. That is perfectly fine. And so we know that the vertex now is, let me write down the values. Actually, it is a perfect square, right? X squared plus 4x plus 2, it is x plus 2 whole square.
Yeah.
And therefore, you got 0 at minus 2, correct? So the vertex is at minus 2, 0. Axis of symmetry is x equals to minus 2. It opens up, right? And the value will be minimum, right?
Yeah.
The minimum value is y equals to 0 for us. X-intercept is also
-2.
at 0. Hmm? Yeah, -2. Yeah, yeah. X equals to 0. Y, yeah, that's correct. The y-intercept will be 4, right?
Yeah.
Domain. Always x belongs to real numbers or from minus infinity to plus infinity. What is the range?
-2 infinity.
So the y value is
Oh, yeah,
from
0 infinity.
0 to infinity, right? It is opening up 0 to infinity,
Yeah.
correct? Increasing and decreasing interval. So it is increasing when? The
0 to
parabola is kind
infinity.
of like this. So
Yeah.
increasing from the vertex, which is at -2, right, to infinity,
Infinity. Yeah.
and decreasing from minus infinity to -2. The end behavior, let me write down here, as x approaches, we can say negative infinity, y approaches positive infinity, and as x approaches positive infinity, y also approaches positive infinity. And easily, now you can graph, correct? So let me write
Yeah.
down the scale once again. So we'll have two divisions as one, right? I'm writing two divisions as one. Okay, and there you go. Correct. Identify where the vertex is. For us, the vertex is at -2 and 0. So -2, 0 is the vertex. It is going to open up. Now, since it is opening up, and we know the y-intercept also, which is at 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4, right? So that is the y-intercept, correct?
Yeah.
So from the symmetry, we are going 2 units to the left. We have another point here, 4. So you can actually join these points, correct? And draw your parabola,
Yeah.
correct? It is good to show the axis of symmetry also, no harm. That is your axis of symmetry, x equals to -2. Is that clear to you?
Yeah.
And you can fill up your table. And let me again use that steps. So in this case, steps will be what? Steps will be 1, 3, 5, 7, correct?
Yeah.
And you know one value, which is the vertex, which is at, let me write down in different thing, -2 gives you 0, right? So if I go up, I'll go -1 and step of 1, correct? Then another
Yeah.
step will be, sorry, I should have written -3 here, sorry. And then if I go -4, I'll go step of 1 plus 3, which is 4, correct?
Yeah.
If I go on this side, which is -1, I'll get 1. If I go to -2 and -3, then let me write down the steps on the side from the vertex. We are going in this direction, we are adding 1, and then we are adding 3, and then we are adding 5. Is it okay?
Yeah.
So when you add 1, you get 1. When you add 3, you get 4 here. And when you add 5, you get 9 here. So those becomes the value. You can always substitute the values and get them, but using the steps, we can, without calculation, accurately get all the results. Is that clear to you?
Yeah.
Perfect. So we're done with this. So we now know how exactly to sketch the graph. So can I, can you summarize what you have learned, and then we can move a different type of questions. Do you have more questions?
No.
Okay, these are the ones. Okay, that's fine. So what I thought is we'll also, let me share one screen with you, and I will sketch the graph from different form. This part is absolutely clear, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so can you summarize your learnings from how do we sketch the graph of a quadratic function from standard form of the equation?
Yeah. So we can use steps to find a very quick way to sketch it without calculating everything. For example, if it's x squared, the steps are 1, 3, 5, 7. So
Mhm.
if you go up 1, you're adding 1, and if you go up 2, you're adding 1 plus 3.
Correct.
So you're basically adding 4, and you can keep going like that to sketch it quickly.
Yes, yes. Perfect. Now we have learned in the first half how do we sketch from standard equation. The easier ways are, we could also sketch the parabola from intercept form when we are given the x-intercepts themselves, right? So let us take few examples and see how do we sketch a graph given in the intercept form, right? So I'll share with you a whiteboard, write down few equations, and we will see how do we sketch the graph from the given conditions. So, okay. So here is the first equation for you. We'll say y equals to x plus 2 times x minus 4. If I give you this value, how will you sketch the graph? Can you tell me, please?
So you find the x-intercepts, which are first -2, 0, and 4, 0.
Okay, so here's the graph. I'll make a scale here. I've taken very simple values to work with. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I'm saying x plus 2 and x minus 3. That means clearly I have x-intercepts at, as you say, x-intercepts at x equals to -2 and x equals to 4, correct? So x equals to -2 is right there for me, and x equals to 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. That is x equals to 4, right? So I got these two x-intercepts. Now, how will you find the axis of symmetry?
I multiplied it out to get standard form, and I got axis symmetry is 1.
Okay, I'll tell you an easier way. Axis of symmetry is midway between the two. So add the x-intercept and divide by 2. So basically, if x1 is the first intercept, x2 is the second, add them and divide by 2. So what we get here is -2 plus 4 divided by 2, which is 2 over 2, and which is 1. So you don't really have to go back to the standard form. This is much easier. So we'll do from here. So let me sketch the axis of symmetry. So which is at x equals to 1. So we have this axis of symmetry. Is that clear to you?
Yeah.
Now, since we have the axis of symmetry, let us find the vertex. So we can submit the value of x equals to 1 in the equation. We get y equals to 1 plus 2 times 1 minus 4. What do you get? 3 times -3, which is -9, correct?
Yeah.
So let us say, let me just draw this scale now and go down with units like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and there we go, 9. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay, so we got the vertex here. Vertex is at 1, 9. Okay, it opens up. And now, what are the steps? Steps are 1, 3, 5, 7, right?
Yeah.
So from here, if I go 1 unit to the left, let me take a lighter ink and then we'll sketch from there. If I go 1 unit up, I go 1 up. So we get 1 point. And both ways, so that is my y-intercept, correct? Anyway,
Yeah.
we can also calculate the y-intercept. So y-intercept is when x is equal to 0. So we get y equals to 0 plus 2 times 0 minus 4, and that is -8, and that is what I get. Do you see that?
Yeah.
So we got this, and we have the other 2 points, but let me just, because I want to explain you this step concept also. So this is 1 up, 2 up, and 3 up. Do you see that? So we go from here, 1, 2, 3, we get this idea. Is that okay? Now, next step, when I move here, I go 1 up, 2 up, 3 up, 4 up, 5 up. Do you see 5 up? And I reach my x-intercept. Do you see that?
Yeah.
So that is a confirmation of what we had just got through. Is it okay? So that is how we are going to do. And let me now join these points to sketch the parabola. So let me just do. Okay. Do you see that graph? So that becomes your parabola. So it is always a smooth curve. So make it a smooth curve, right?
Yeah.
And you can write down all the characteristics. And that is to say, when x approaches positive infinity or negative infinity, sorry. So y approaches positive infinity, when x approaches positive infinity, y approaches positive. Is it okay? And increasing, decreasing interval also, you get all your characteristics. Is that clear to you?
Yeah.
Perfect. So that is how you could actually sketch the parabola from the intercept form. Is it okay?
Yeah.
Good. So you don't have to go back to that particular form, right? So let me now take another form, which is the vertex form, which we derived first and then moved on. But that will complete our chapter, right? Let me write down one equation. F of x is equals to, let me take minus 2 times x plus 4 whole square minus 5. Well, let me not take minus 5. I want to keep it simpler. Let me take plus 3. Okay. Now, from this equation, can you tell me what is the vertex?
-4, 3.
Perfect. Now, can you tell me what are the steps?
1, 3, 5, 7.
Times minus 2. Do you see that?
Yeah.
Times minus 2. And the axis, you know, is the x value of minus 4, correct?
Yeah.
Perfect. You can find the y-intercept, which is this value at x equals to 0. How much do you get?
3.
No. If you put x equals to 0 here, it will be minus 2 times 0 plus 4 whole square plus 3.
Yeah.
So which is
Yeah.
minus 2 times 4 square plus 3. 4 square is 16 times 2 is minus 32. So we get what? Minus 29. Is it okay?
Yeah.
Perfect. Now we got all these values. Let's try to sketch the parabola. It is opening downwards, right? It opens down, and the vertex being at minus 4 and 3. So minus 4 and 3. So let me just let me just sketch like this. So what I will do here is I'll kind of sketch the graph first. We know the y-intercept is at minus 29, and so let me just, and we know the axis is at minus 4, and the y value being at 3, right? So the vertex is here. So let me say the graph is going something like this. Is that clear to you?
Yeah.
And we can now label it. So when you're sketching means a rough diagram. So you could sketch just as I've done here. I get this point as minus 29. I get this vertex, which is at minus 4 and 3. You get the idea?
Yeah.
And you can find more points here. Because if I look into this point and this point, let us say this diagram is not to the scale, I'm going one step to the right. So instead of minus 4, if I am at minus 3, what should be my y value? Can you tell me? Look at these steps. So if I go 1 down, it will be 2 down, right? Minus 2 times. So minus 2 from 3 it will give you 1, correct?
Yeah.
Similarly, on this side, at minus 5, I will get another value of 1. Is that
Yeah.
okay? So that is how we can actually use the steps. And if you want to draw your table values, you can draw from here. You get the idea?
Yeah.
So let me create the table values starting from minus 4. X value gives me 3. And then I can move either side. So I think let me give more room here. So let's say minus 4 is 3. And then if I come to the right, it is minus 3. I'm going through this step of 2, right? Because it is minus 2. So it gives me 1. And at minus 1, it is giving me further step of 2 times 3, which is 6, right? So I have to do minus 6. So I get minus
Yeah.
5. You get the idea?
Yeah.
So that becomes very cool. Do you see how easy it is now?
Yeah.
So minus 10 next time to get the next value. And at minus 2, minus 10 will give me minus 15. You get the idea?
Yeah.
And then 1, 3, 5, 7, I have to do minus 14. And minus 14 gives me minus 29. Do you see that?
Yeah.
Sorry. So I have to add one minus 1. It is 0 here. What am I doing? Minus 2, minus 1, and 0, right? The x
Yeah.
value is going down by 1. So we have the y-intercept as 29 even from the calculations shown to you, right?
Yeah.
And from the symmetry, you can always write the other points picking up from here. You get the idea. Very easy. So without doing calculations, I'm getting you all the values and you can plot either way. The values first in the graph, okay? So that's how you do it, right?
Yeah.
Is that clear to you?
Yeah.
Perfect. And so will you like to revise or summarize our learnings? How do we sketch the graph of a parabola if we are given equation in vertex form?
Okay. So basically, you find the vertex, which is easy because it's already in vertex form.
Yes.
And then you find the a value, which is the value in front of the parentheses. Like in this equation, it's -2.
Yes.
And you multiply it by the steps, which would be 1, 3, 5, 7. And you get whatever new steps you have. And then you just use the steps method to calculate it from there.
Correct. It is so easy to sketch a parabola. And I think that is the easiest way to get the parabola with all accurate values, right? So we have learned three methods today. How do we sketch a parabola from the standard equation, from the intercept form when we are given the x-intercepts, and also from the vertex form. Great. So we can end our class here today.
Yeah.
Can you summarize all the learnings for today's class?
Yeah, so first we started off on sketching parabolas and finding the details of parabola like maximum, minimum, x-intercepts, and so on. And then we found a quicker way to sketch parabolas by using the steps form. And then after that, we sketched different parabolas from their x-intercepts form, vertex form, and standard form.
Great job. So we'll end the class here, and I hope you learn. Keep sharing, and we'll move on from here. Okay,
Okay.
thanks, and have a great day.